In 2022, around Betty White's birthday, we received an unexpected delivery from FedEx. The driver was making her deliveries on a Sunday when she noticed a cat on the side of the road. She pulled over to check if he was dead or alive. Fortunately, he was still alive, but he was in very, very bad shape. She of course couldn't just leave him there, so she scooped him up and figured out her next step. Since it was a Sunday, everywhere was closed, so she turned to us for help since we were on her route anyways. She sped down our driveway and hopped out of her truck, crying with this cat in her arms. The kitty seemed to be emaciated, and the infection in his eyes was so awful that it appeared he had no eyes. He also had a terrible upper respiratory infection. We immediately started him on antibiotics, fluids, we were syringe feeding him, and we were in contact with our vet all throughout the day. The very next day, when the vet was open, we took him in and he was kept in the hospital for several days. He was on a feeding tube for a while to get him nutrition and medication since he hadn't been eating on his own. Then, after 2 weeks of good care and medicine, he began eating on his own and he even gained some weight. Later down the line, it did become necessary to remove his damaged eye, but that didn't faze this kitty. Of course, the sweet baby needed a name, and since everyone thought this kitty was a she, it was decided that the name would be Betty, in honor of Betty White. But to everyone's surprise, he turned out to be a senior fella. We added Mr. to his name, and that is how Mr. Betty came home to BCR. And we are beyond thankful to our amazing FedEx driver who had it in her heart to stop for him. It's because of her good deed that he was able to find his forever home and get the care that he needed. He is now happily bossing the staff around for snacks and is treated like an absolute prince here at BCR.
Actually, I was here when he was brought in back in January of 2022. When the FedEx lady had brought him in, we were all about to go home, and she had brought this sad, sickly looking boy. You know, she didn't know where to, take him to because it was on a Sunday, so, everything was closed. And she begged us to see what we could do, so we immediately took care of him. He had it was a bad upper respiratory infection, so he was really sickly looking in the face. I mean, he was pussy looking. I mean, it was really, really bad. And at the time, we really did not know if he would make it. But with taking him to the vet and getting him some antibiotics and getting him a feeding tube, he turned out to be a great, handsome boy. And look at him today, all nice and healthy. He came in right after, it was like a few days after Betty White's birthday. So that's how he got the name, Mr. Betty. Because at the time we did think he was a girl, but we dropped the miss and kept Mr. So that is how his name came to be. BCR did a lot of magic on this boy. He has turned out to be such a sweet, handsome guy. Very, very loving and loving his treats. And he loves his forever home. Mr. Betty, his standout times to me would probably be when he's standing at the window. When he is staring out the window, begging for treats, being the little gatekeeper that he is, especially when he was in house 1 and he had his little drive-through, that was like the most cutest thing ever. And when there's treat puzzles in here, he's one of the #1s that's going to be trying to get those treats. Sometimes even on tour, I call him the little sheriff, treat sheriff, and Raja, his little treat deputy, because they're always at the door wanting treat. And if he's not at the door, he has Raja, monitoring the door. When you meet him, you're going to fall in love with him because he is that sweet and cute. And make sure that when you enter his room that you bring some treats, because he's going to follow you to the very end until you do, because he counts his treats and he knows every time when there's one missing.
Sorry. Here, baby. I was here the Sunday that he got here, so we got to spend lots of time together that afternoon. He was in super bad shape, but he was still really sweet. He was just super sick. You could literally smell the infection on him. It was really sad, but I just thought he was a really sweet little guy. He definitely got a lot healthier. He was kind of a little shy, just a little bit. He loves his friends. He became obsessed with treats. Our little treat king. Betty Spaghettis. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank Thank you, Betty. He just looks at you with like so much love. He looks like he's like so thankful that we helped him. And I just love his little no meow and the way he like puts his little paws on the window. He's just so cute. Like when he had his feeding tube, I would be the one to feed him dinner and lunch, and he would just look up at me so grateful and loving, and that's my favorite.
What would you tell a new visitor, somebody who might be meeting him for the first time?
Bring treats, because he will be begging at the window.